Welcome, everybody, to tonight's live stream podcast. Back better than ever for week number 11 in Washington State football action. It's postseason play, and we've got round of 16 brackets out ready to talk about. And there is actually, I think, a lot to dissect in at least a couple of these brackets, but I don't want to spoil any of the fun just quite yet. We'll get the introductions out of the way for, of course, Nick Sisson, N2 Media. You also know the guy to my right, Matt Evans, Evans Rankings. Matt, how we doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. That's kind of funny that you do that. Usually every year, the first day of school, I go out to do a recess orientation with my students. And when I'm doing my presentation, I'll always go, "Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Evans. Hold for applause," and just stand there for like 10 seconds and see what happens. So thank you very much, people. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's like Christmas time, and it lasts longer than 2 days as well. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. The month of November is one of my favorite months. I was born in the month of November, just had my 41st birthday back on the 1st. We got basketball starting at the very end of the month, but we got playoff football in full force, and we still got 4 more weeks inside this thing. And so forward to potentially seeing forward, there's a couple matchups that I'm really looking, really intrigued by. And of the brackets, the way that they came out, for the most part, I'm okay with I'd say most of it. I feel pretty solid about a lot of your predictions that you're, I couldn't tell if that was how you personally saw the brackets or if that's how the computer projected the brackets. I think it was personal, right?
Personal, yep.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of that to be off base at all, really. I found a lot of it to be right about where I would be in most parts. But, yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, the 2B bracket really, made me scratch my head a lot. And we talked about it throughout the course of the year. I think back around the 4th or the 5th show that we did. And I don't want to go into it quite yet, but the main topic of the 2B bracket, at least, was something that we discussed as a possibility. And here it is. We'll tease it for right now, but I'm doing great. Just had some great steak fajitas here at home, and some good peppers and onions. I got them in this room by myself. My family doesn't want to have to be subjected to that torture. And then, we saw Deadpool and Wolverine came out today on Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to sitting down and watching that movie. But yeah, it's just been another day, man. A great week. I'm a little depressed, and I think that I don't know if I'll be doing another football live stream for the rest of the playoffs, because technically it's not allowed, but I see a couple people that are still trying to get some stuff done, and I'm not going to be the one to put the kibosh to it. More the merrier. So
Amen to that.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, man, I saw we got the bracket challenge up, and I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I've been very surprised with the feedback so far. So far, as of right now, at 8:05 on Tuesday night, we've got 31 entries in the 4A bracket. We've got 23 in the 3A. We've got 26 in the 2A. We've got 25 in the 1A. We've got 17 in the 2B. We've got 14 in the 1B. So pretty solid. A lot of folks kind of didn't really pay attention to a lot of the stuff, because a lot of the entries are named for what I assume are your final score tiebreakers, which there aren't any, but I'll make sure to track email addresses and let winners know when they win if they do. I was very surprised. Lots of entries called 24-21 and 27-24, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it might get to a point, though, that we do need to get some tiebreakers. But let's not put the cart in front of us just yet,
Exactly.
Anything can happen, especially like using 4A, for example. You know, like I think that we like to believe that, you know, we can map out how it's going to go, but I found that to be the toughest bracket to break down and choose, to be quite honest with you.
I agree. It was very tough.
James is here already in the live stream comment section. James, good to see you right on time. Me and Myrna are right with you now. Interesting playoffs, exciting. Maybe Lake Stevens will be back in it. We never wrote him off, James. We never wrote him off. And you know nothing about Mead. Join the club. I don't know if there's many people that do know anything about Mead. 4A baby, and then Marshall Hart, coach, Northwest Christian. Love it. Looking forward to the show tonight, fellas. Hey, I'm happy to. We are happy to do it. Absolutely. So.
Yeah, Mead at last check about 6-7 years ago, they had a really good vocal music program. I can tell you that. Mr. Sakamano up there did amazing things. I don't know if he's still there, but yeah, great vocal music program.
Auntie M is here also. Nice. So I think that what we need to do here, folks, is I think that we need you to type in your predictions into the live stream comment section. Matt does have the bracket challenge, I'm imagining, pulled right up in front of him right now.
I do. Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be good if we have you guys participate as much as possible tonight in the live stream comment section. And again, you guys can go back and rewatch the show at any time. We're very happy. Last week, I think on YouTube, we had like 300 plays almost, which is the most that we've had so far of all of our shows. Facebook, you know, always near 1,000 playbacks and stuff. But yeah, I got to tell you, it's so much funner for me and Matt if you guys are involved and you guys are making it seem like that we don't know what we're talking about as well. Predict. Can I predict a Camas win? No, because you predicted an Evergreen win last week, Brian, and Matt and I told you so. We told you right here on this very show, Stanwood can cause problems. They're a difficult team to play. They have an offense that grinds you out. Jeez Louise. Matt, let's take some credit for our guts.
You know, for me, it really, I've been on Stanwood all year, man. I've really liked them. I don't think I put them in my semifinals, but I'm fairly certain I had them going to the final 8. I mean, I really like that program. They do really good things. You know, they had a couple losses this year that were really close, could have been wins, and who knows, they could have been a higher seed. It's a really good program.
Oh, yeah, no. They were in the quarters not too long ago, and I think they played Lincoln, right, in the quarters, or it was either Lincoln or Bellevue. But either way, they had a really good running back then, and it sounds like that they're, you know, still doing the same thing. I mean, the wing T, it's such a tough offense to stop. I mean, just ask anybody who's played Tumwater or who's played Fife this year. Fife with an impressive win last week, the game that I streamed. Why didn't Kelsey use the onside kick last week? They did, and they recovered one, and they actually got the game to 33-30. There's some rivalry going back and forth here now between me and Brian already. Hey, they both lost. They're both out. Can't compare the two. They're both gone. But the game I did last week, Matt, Fife and Ridgefield, man, I gotta tell you, Fife is a very big team up front. They've got some big boys. They've got some fast linebackers. The offense is efficient, right? It's potent. Is it going to be efficient enough and potent enough to win a few games in the postseason? That I don't know. There are some really, really in 2A, but I was very impressed by their front four. They were able to get to the quarterback without blitzing pretty much all day. They shut down Ridgefield's run game. They end up winning that game 34-6. They got a kid on the defensive line who's a freshman who's 6 foot, 280 pounds. And I just what do they feed that child? Other children? That's all I can think of.
Sorry, I'm chuckling here. Gotta go back to my guy Marshall Hart with the rumor on the street is the handsome 2B coaches power rankings coming out tonight. Unfortunately, it's no contest, Marshall. We all know Jim Holman's a clear number 1. Like, it's not even close. And it's not because I'm biased and, he's one of my, closest people in the world. But, I mean, it's clear Jim Holman's number one.
It's illegal to feed a child to other children. Well, just because it's illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Just like gambling on high school sports.
Allegedly.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't ever happen. Yeah, wow, handsome. I don't know, man. That seems like a realm that I don't think I'm qualified to be a part of. I don't know. We might have to poll all of the wives of the 2B coaches anonymously, of course, anonymously.
I was gonna say, Maz over there at On Alaska is gonna be way up there. I mean, come on, Maz is an amazing specimen of human right there. But
I'm so glad that Justin Tomaszewicz is here right now. Justin, stay with us on the show because when we get to the 1A bracket, we're going to address some stuff, okay? Monroe at 14, unreal. I know their schedule wasn't strong and we rolled them up week 6, but did they get punished for scheduling Camas? Had they played another school and gone 10-0, are they a top 8? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Probably. I mean, but I think that the precedent, Matt, has kind of been set by years previous with Monroe. That when they get to a point where they do play a legit top 8 team, they really seem to fade fast and can't really keep up with the competition. I think that what happened to Monroe is similar to what happened with Mercer Island, except Monroe did go out and they did schedule a game at least against Camas, and it wasn't close. I mean, Roosevelt, by comparison, though, they scheduled them 12-6. That's a lot easier result for, I think, the committee to look at and not, give Roosevelt too much of a downgrade for that effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was shocked at that seating, like legitimately shocked. I personally had I think I put them at 10 in my projections, and the computer obviously is high on them. They're 9-1, and their only loss being to the clear number 1 in 4A. But I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously they had a couple of non-league games. Blanchett, not the strongest, but that's technically a playoff team. Camas, and then they had a couple of really close games in week 9 and week 10. But I mean, I don't know. That one still feels really, really hard for me to swallow. I mean, you see people making the case about Mercer Island being unbeaten, but I mean that's a different thing. That's a different tier. That's that's Kinko's doing. What happened to Monroe? That's all I really got. I try not to question the committee, but that's a question that I would have of, I mean, was it just Westco as a whole they saw down? I mean, I could see that being a perception, but yeah, it was very, very surprising to me.
Right there, the tail end of what you said is kind of what's in the back of my head from the last couple of years, is that the league doesn't really have a lot of challengers. And I think that the toughest game that they had played, other than that Camas game, I don't know, on paper, I'd have to go back off the top of my head. I remember they played a game against Mount Lake Terrace when they were both like 4-0 or 5-0 at the time. And, obviously Mount Lake Terrace really didn't do much with their season, but we got DJ Mims here with us, coach of the Mercer Island Islanders. Good to see you, Coach. Please feel free to type in your thoughts, prayers, hopes, dreams, favorite color. We're kind of getting to the seeds and where we think everybody is at. Mercer Island being at 15. Hard to go undefeated and win a road game by 10, and then you draw O'Day in the first round. That's a real tough pill to swallow right there.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's not Mercer Island's fault. They got put into Tier C when they probably should have been a Tier B team, and there's nothing they could do. They've done everything that they can on the field, and unfortunately, they're going to have to go play O'Day, and it's going to be a tough one. But I mean, Mercer Island does have a lot of seniors on the team. Who knows? Maybe, hopefully, that can be a closer game, and hopefully it'll be a good. I just yeah. There's nothing. It's not Mercer Island's fault.
No, not a shocker that they went on the road and won last week either.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we both collectively thought that they were a team that could go on the road and win. I think that we had our over under at 3.5 and 4A last week for road wins, and I'm pretty sure that we landed at 4.
I'm fairly certain we did.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kamayakin.
Yeah, thank you. You're like right in my head, man, because that was the transition. I was about to say that out of the games from last week that really kind of surprised me is Mike and beating Moses Lake 49-20. Like I didn't impossible. Or not even, Moses out of state this year. They played last season. A lot of returners for Moses Lake overall as well. So kind of a head scratcher there. But Mike had played a really tough schedule overall. If you throw in the fact they played, obviously, Chiawana. They played Richland. They played Kennewick. They played Yelm on the road. We knew this was a team that could score points. But I wasn't expecting a result quite like that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. And I'll be honest with you, I'm fairly certain a lot of folks down here at Tri-Cities weren't either. I mean, I turned on the game at, I think it was 31 or 28-10 or something like that. It's just becoming a little, it was a pick six that just happened. And I texted a buddy and was like, hey, here's the score. And they're like, what? I mean, it was, Kamaikan. The biggest thing that we've been talking about for them is just making sure that they shore up their turnovers, and they forced a lot of turnovers this week. And they're a really dangerous team. We got 3 dangerous teams coming out of the MCC, and we'll definitely be talking about those as we get to the 4A bracket.
Oh, 100%. GG_M says Royal beating Montesano for the state championship. Ooh, keep the comments coming in. Love it. We'll address all the comments and all of our brackets, and we can't address all of yours, so that's why we want you to type in here. Matt, what shocked you about last week other than the game that we just talked about?
I don't think that there really were any results that I looked at and thought, okay, that like it really just kind of like I think Seattle Prep winning kind of I didn't think that was going to happen. I mean, they're a good program, but I just kind of thought I thought maybe they got a little bit of a bump in the seeding, but yeah, no, them going through is a good one there. Let's see. I
got one.
What do you got?
Bothell dismantling Olympia 52-14 to me was like okay. This is like it.
Bothel's a sleeping giant. I mean, I say that, I do have connections in that program, but they are a sleeping giant. Their record is absolutely deceiving. They played Kennedy Catholic tight. They played Arlington tight, almost beat Arlington. Source tells me they win that game if their safety doesn't slip on the 2-point conversion. Their record is not indicative of the style of play and the type of team that they are, and they're going to be a team that is very, very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Right away. Yeah, another game that not shocked that Curtis was able to get a win, but a 28-0 shutout win over a Glacier Peak team that defeated Arlington, earlier this season. So Arlington 9-1. We'll talk a little bit more about them specifically, but that result 28-0 in favor of Curtis. I mean, that kind of to me makes them seem like one of the most dangerous 16 seeds that we've probably seen in the tournament for quite some time.
Yeah, but this is also probably one of the best 1 seeds that we've seen in a while too. So that kind of neutralizes that. But I think that there's a chance that Curtis could, make it at least keep it closer than it could be for a little bit longer than it might have been in a normal 16 versus 1 game. But at the end of the day, yeah, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I think that any advantage that Curtis would have there of being a strong 16 kind of goes out the window when you're looking at who's lining up on the other side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. The other game that I was looking at that just kind of didn't seem like the style of game that I thought would be played out, but Kings beating Kalama the way that they did, that game was a lot further in than the score indicates. I mean, the Kings jumped out, I think, to a 30-something to nothing lead in that game, and it happened fast, too. So Kalama's obviously been riddled with injuries. Aiden Brown did, try to tape it up and go out there and battle. A kid that had over 8,000 passing yards, I think, in his 4-year career, just an absolute stud.
Mm-hmm.
I think it speaks a lot about how good Kings really is after an 0-3 start. I heard they had some injury issues of their own to start the year. Seems like they've got everything all worked out and all guys in the important positions, but they look like a real dangerous team coming up here in the 1A bracket.
Yeah, I agree with you. They're Kings is always a dangerous team. They get overlooked by playing in a conference like the Emerald Sound, but Jim Shapiro's boys are always very well coached and ready to go. And yeah, they're definitely going to be a tough team, and whomever they match up with, whenever they match up, as far as they go.
Well, I think that maybe we should just save some suspense and just get right into it here, Matt. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Well, just so we can hold the 4A audience here for as long as humanly possible, I think we're going to have to start at 1B and work our way up tonight.
I'm down for that. Let's do it.
All right. Well, here is your 1B bracket. Leading off at number 1, Liberty Christian. No shock. Number 2, Wilbur Creston and Keller. Number 3, Nacelle. Number 4, Almira Cooley Heartline. Number 5, Nia Bay. 6, Pomeroy. 7, Entiat. 8, DeSales. 9, Killseed. 10, Garfield Palouse. 11, Odessa. 12, Wakayakum. 13, Inchilium. 14, Moses Lake Christian. 15, Waterville Mansfield. And 16, Acosta. Impressions of the seeds first, Matt.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I was kind of surprised at Nia Bay getting the 5 and Almira Cooley Heartland getting the 4. I mean, I thought that either way they could be flip-flopped, but that would mean Nia Bay would be traveling to ACH in the quarterfinals if they both get past the first round. Obviously, very long trip either way. But yeah, I thought that as a league champion, I thought Nia Bay would maybe get the better end of the stick there, but not a big thing. Other than that, I think the seating's pretty dead on. DeSales at an 8. I think that if they would have shown better against Liberty Christian, maybe, but yeah, dropping them behind Entiat doesn't surprise me, even though Entiat kind of had a weaker strength of schedule, but that's just their league is a tough one to get strong opponents in. Yeah, if we're looking at, are we going to do potential upsets, or do you want me to save that one?
No, let's do. I mean, I think that we should just break it down. Everything 1B right now that we want to get out and talk about, and we'll just kind of let the chips fall where they fall over the next couple weeks.
All right, sounds good. So let's go upset alert. I believe that if you're looking at one game here and going, that's going to be an upset, I'm taking the 10 Garfield Palouse over Entiat. And it's nothing against Entiat.
I knew it.
Yeah, Entiat's they're a great team. They really are. They're very well coached. Brian Bailey is an amazing coach. Absolutely love the guy. But Garfield Palouse went out this year, and their non-league schedule is probably the toughest in the state, like 4A to 1B. They had 4 losses, but they're like Liberty Christian, Wilbur Creston Keller, like the really the cream of the crop in Eastern Washington of 8-man football. And they are battle tested, and they took DeSales to the limit a couple weeks ago, and I would not be surprised to see Garfield Palouse win in the 10-7 game.
Yeah, that's exactly the first place that I went, and you could find that in my bracket challenge. I've got Garfield Palouse winning that game. I mean, a team that starts 0-4. They open up with Liberty Christian, and they really didn't even like play terrible against Liberty Christian either. I mean, they still lost by multiple touchdowns, but that's everybody that's played Liberty Christian this year. But it's like you said, I mean, a team that starts 0-4, right? And they've won 5 out of their last 6. And that other game that they lost outside of that was the one that you just mentioned to DeSales, but that was a 1-score game. And for them to be a 10 seed, I think is just speaks. I mean, a 5-5 team is a 10 seed, and you got Odessa at 11 here, Matt. You know, if you want another upset potential here, look at that 6-11 game. I think Odessa is in the conversation to be able to defeat Pomeroy. Some skepticism as to why that might not look like the case is because of how good Pomeroy played in the first 2.5 quarters against Liberty Christian, and you saw that game, so you know firsthand what Pomeroy is capable of. But Odessa playing in such a tough league this year, you know, they're battle tested as well, and you know how do games play out in the playoffs when you get to the 3rd, 4th quarters? You know, things are tight. You know, they can go either way at that point. So I mean, those would be the 2 games that I would look at and say you could be on upset alert.
And I'll tell you, I'll go one step further. I'll go on record right now and saying that I think Garfield Palouse makes it to the quarterfinals, maybe the semifinals next year. They're only graduating 4 seniors. They're junior heavy. This is, you know, they've set themselves up to have so many learning experiences this year to potentially grow and be one of the creams of the Southeastern Washington 8-man football crop next year.
This is the first year that Wahkiakum has been in 8-man football. Nia Bay is a very, very tough draw here, Matt. To save some suspense, I do have Nia Bay winning this game, but Wahkiakum's on a heater right now. That's another game that you got to keep an eye on, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. But I do think that at the end of the day, I think Nia Bay is they're extremely talented. You know, I mean, you look at, you know, Wahkiakum going down. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a tough one, but I honestly think that Nia Bay should be the 4, you know, and just right there, you know, they're one of the best teams in the state, and I hope for Wahkiakum's sake that they can come out of this with some positives, but I don't think it's going to be a very close result.
Well, they did play in week 1, you know, and it'll truly tell what Wahkiakum was able to learn from their first game in 8-man playing a good team like Nia Bay. It was a last-minute scheduled game, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's right.
78-24 for Nia Bay in week 1. And then Wahkiakum played Nacelle the next week and lost 72-6, right? So could I be talking out of my ass a little bit here? Maybe. But at the same time, I'm a strong believer in teams getting better throughout the year and figuring out a way to correct their mistakes. Anytime that you see a team second in the same season, you know, usually the results are a little bit tighter. I'm not saying they're going to pull off the upset. Again, I picked Nia Bay, but 5-12 matchups historically in the NCAA tournament are pretty intriguing.
Amen to that.
All right, let's go through it real quick and let everybody know where we're at least in the first round. And I think that we should just go all the way through and give our predictions. So how about you go first there, Matt?
So I have, let's see. So I have Liberty Christian, I have Quilcene, I have Elmira Cooley Heartline, Nia Bay, Wilbur Creston Keller, Garfield Palouse, Nacelle, and Pomeroy going through. Then my semifinals is Liberty Christian, Elmira Cooley Heartland on one side, and Wilbur Creston Keller, Pomeroy on the other. My state championship game is Liberty Christian, Wilbur Creston Keller, and I have the Patriots winning the state championship.
So I have Liberty Christian, DeSales, ACH, Elmira Cooley Heartline, Nia Bay, Wilbur Creston Keller, Garfield Palouse, Nacelle, and then Pomeroy. I got Nacelle advancing to the semifinals. Got Wilbur Creston Keller as the other semifinalist. And then I've got Liberty Christian over DeSales in the second round. Another semifinalist, Liberty Christian. And then Elmira Cooley and Heartline playing Liberty Christian. And I got Liberty Christian versus Wilbur Creston Keller. And Liberty Christian winning the championship.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised though if Wilburcrest and Keller does make it, if that game is really close. Wilburcrest and Keller really can. They run the ball great. They control the clock great. I think that could be a thing that kind of helps. The biggest thing is going to be, can they keep Charlie Brannigan in check when we get there, if we get there.
Are you potentially able to see everybody's predictions?
I have it set so that I can't see and nobody else can see until it goes live on Friday at 3.
I can't even go back and look at my brackets, so I'm going off of memory.
I was gonna say, if you go, let's see, you should be able to go on the link, and I think if you may be able to hit edit your prediction. I'm not sure. I know since I have an account, I can do that, but I don't know if that's something that.
It gave me a link to be able to do it, but yeah, that was earlier. I don't have that anymore. I'm trying to remember. For some reason, I'm like, God, did I have? It's like I thought I had maybe Nacelle winning in the other semifinal.
It's all good. We won't hold it against you if the picks are slightly different. No worries.
Yeah, I thought I might have actually had Nacelle winning. Thanks, buddy. Either way, I like the comments. I think the comments are pretty tough this year.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So we're both on Liberty Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
And Coach Lukens is probably going to be really mad at me. Why are you going with us? Light the fire under the boys. Go against us. I could just hear him.
Yeah.
Because I want to win the bracket challenge, Craig. Gosh.
That's exactly right, though. That's exactly what you want. All right. Let's move on real quick. Let's go to the 2B bracket here. So here it is. Number 1, Okanagan. And then Asotin at number 2. Napavine, number 3. Onalaska at 4. Freeman at 5. Liberty Bell at 6. And then Northwest Christian Colbert at 7. Tri-Cities Prep at 8. Toledo at 9. LaSalle at 10. Adna 11. Goldendale 12. 13 is Newport. 14 Columbia Burbank. 15 Clay Elum Roslyn. And then your 16 is Friday Harbor. Ooh. I've been saving my thoughts for this show here, Matt. I did not go to Twitter about any of it. So I'll defer to you first and help me make some sense out of this bracket.
I have a very hot take. Could be very controversial. But
good.
My hot take about the 2B bracket is that I think it is fine. I don't see any problems with the bracket at all. A lot of people are going to get on me about Napavine being over Onalaska, and yes, that is definitely something that is kind of like, but it's not something that's just so far out there. Look at Napavine. Yeah, they have 2 losses, but who are their losses to? Their losses are to 2 of the top 12 1A teams, to maybe 2 top 7 1A teams. Onalaska's loss is to a top 5 1A team right there. You can look at Onalaska being very, very dominant. I would argue that I think that the other division is stronger, other than, say, for Toledo. I think that division is not very strong. And while Napavine may have had closer games, I think that their competition was a lot stronger than Ani's was. That being said, like I said, I don't have any big complaints about this one. Not one bit.
Yeah, I do. I in no way should Napavine be ranked ahead of Onalaska. I mean, I'll go there. I mean, if you want to say that they're better than Freeman, yeah, I mean, I'll listen to an argument. And you know what? It'll get settled on the field most likely. But
yeah,
we talked about this back in week 4 or 5, like I was trying to tease everybody earlier. Where do you seed Napa Vine, knowing that they've got 2 losses? Because this is the point right here where we had this conversation. They had just lost for the second time, and we said, Matt, they haven't lost to a 2B school. Let's say hypothetically they run through the rest of their division, which we figured they would, and they did. And here they are. They're at number 3. I mean, is it more this season or is it more the previous couple seasons, right? I mean, are we getting the brand recognition here for Napa Vine? And I'm not one of these guys that wants to say that one coach being on a committee is the difference between a team being seated where they're at, where they're not. I don't buy into that. I don't think that's true at all. I think there's way too many people in the room that if they saw something that was so egregiously incorrect that it would have been put to bed right there, and it wouldn't even have gotten to this point. So anybody who thinks that, you need to just flush that right now. You just need to go look at the on-the-field product, right? So Onalaska scheduled 3 teams that were outside of their classification in a higher class, and they went 2-1 in those games. And Nooksack Valley, right, being the one team that they lost to back in week 1, obviously it was a thorough win for Nooksack Valley. But other than that, in the common opponent arena that they've played, they've each beaten the teams by similar margins. I just look at 1 loss versus 2 losses. I get that you lost twice, but lost to Life Christian for Napa Vine and then a loss to Montesano. I think that honestly what really helped Napa Vine in this scenario was Montesano. The fact that Montesano beat Nooksack Valley, to me, is the difference maker here. That's what you're looking at. But on the field product right now, look at Klahowya, right? They were in the playoffs. Onalaska ran through them in a non-league game, Toledo, right? The number 9 team, which, by the way, I can continue. I think that I saw this coming when I ranked them after that game. I had them in my poll at 9. I figured, like, how do you recover from getting beat that badly? If you look at who they've beaten Adna, and they also beaten Goldendale this year. So, I mean, a couple of teams that are in the playoffs, 1 loss, you drop all the way down to 9. I don't know if it speaks testament to how tough 2B by county really was this year, because you got Northwest Christian above them with 2 losses. But I could make an argument that Toledo should be a little bit higher up in the bracket as well. But so if you're going to say that losing 1 game to Onalaska was that detrimental for them to be number 9, I think that gives more respect to Onalaska. I just don't see how a 1-loss team in the same league, yes, granted they're on separate divisions, can be punished because they scheduled just as many tough teams. And if we're going to sit here and go back and forth about losing to good teams, you've had Nooksack Valley ranked in your top 3 all season long.
Yep.
So by that logic, losing to the number 3, number 2 team in 1A, I mean, as a 2B school, and that's your only loss, and you've won every game ever since then, and none of them have been close. And everyone loves Adna as an 11, by the way. So, I mean, I think you got to give a lot of credit to both Toledo and both Onalaska. But I don't have a problem with Napa Vine being in the top 5, top 4. 3, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, and I think it's just more based on what's happened over the last few years. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to beat everybody. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go out and win. But I'm not going to start a war about it. That's just where I'm at.
Well, I can tell you from, obviously I have time in the committee rooms. I could tell you that everything that goes into this committee is this season. What happened last year doesn't matter. What happened the year before doesn't matter. You have people in the room that have seen these teams, that have watched these teams, that have judged this team this year. Go kind of piggybacking off of another thing that you said, if there was something that was totally egregious, there's enough people in the room that will say, hey, that can step up and say, hey, and that is something that does happen. Yep. It also is a precedent too in the 2B room that if a team is being discussed and a coach is present, the coach excuses himself from the room. I can't say what happened this year because I don't know, but I can go back to my time. I can go back to the second year when in the 2B room we were discussing an 8-9 matchup. We were talking about Tri-Cities Prep. We were talking about Asotin, and we were just trying to figure out who we thought was going to that was the big discussion at that time. They were both really, really equal, really close, and we couldn't decide who we thought should host. It literally was a thing where when we voted, the averages came out 8.5 to 8.5. Jim Holman from Asotin was on the committee at that time. As soon as we started talking about that, he got up and he left. He walked out of the room. He was not present for any of the discussion about that. We made the decision. We ended up giving them the home game because we thought that they were a little bit better. And when he came back, one of the funniest things is we came back and we told him, we said, okay, here's what we're doing. We're going Tri-Cities Prep 9 and Asotin 8. And he looks at us, he goes, yeah, you guys got that wrong. But it was just a great little anecdote there with Jim. I love that guy. Amazing guy. But yeah, so it's, the 2B room, we've set that precedent. I have full confidence that when the Napavine on Alaska debate was happening, if there were coaches from either team, that they got up and they were out of the room. That's the assumption that I have. And that's just kind of, the integrity. That's the integrity of the 2Bs right there.
I mean, On Alaska's only given up like 14 points in the last 5 weeks or so.
That was true.
That was to Life Christian. And they beat that was a Cascade Christian, and they beat them 50-14. Another 1A playoff team. I mean, they're not just squeaking by. And Napavine's not either, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Napavine hasn't been crushing everybody lately, because they have been. I don't even know if these two teams are going to play, though, to be honest with you. And that's what I want to see. I want the bracket rearranged so these teams play each other.
Yeah, and I mean, and at the end of the day, too, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at Ani's schedule right now. You've got that loss to Nooksack Valley, and PWV was kind of, not as good as advertised this year. Mossy Rock definitely down, but just look at the rest of it. Rainier, not good. Morton White Pass, not good. Winlock, that was a forfeit. They got the Clahowie game. That was a very, very late scheduled game. Clahowie is good. Toledo, they skunked Toledo, but other than that, Tootle and El Waco, not good teams. The Cascade Christian game is probably the second best game on their schedule. And that one was another game that we got really, really late due to cancellations. And glad we got it. But I think that, and then if you look at, looking at Napavine's schedule, who's their second? You've got Life Christian, good game. Montesano, good game. Adna, good game. Let's see. That's probably it. They got 3 good games as opposed to maybe 2, maybe 3 for Ani there. But yeah, it's tough. But at the end of the day, both teams are gonna travel in the semifinals. It's not as though one would be hosting and one, and one's traveling. They're both gonna be traveling. So,
assuming they get there.
Yes.
Assuming they get there. So other than that, right? I thought the committee did a good job. Other than that, that's that. I mean, I'm not going to kill them. Like I said when we first started, like my opinion is overall everything looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. I might have flip-flopped the Toledo Tri-Cities Prep game. I think that I would have at least had Toledo as an 8 hosting the first round, but
league champion to not league champion.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, Asotin is the 2, totally fine. The team that was most, I guess, curious for me is where they would rank at would be Liberty Bell. Then they end up getting at 6, and I think that just kind of says a lot about their one loss being to Okanagan, and it was a fairly competitive game. So I have no problem with them being at 6. Freeman being above them probably has to do more with 2B by county being in a pretty tough league overall.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, because you got Northwest Christian at 7, so you got 3 teams in the top 7. So. Yep. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Goldendale at the 12, Clayle and Rosalind's in there. Obviously, Columbia Burbank, and Adna the 11. pretty dangerous 11 seed there, Matt. You want to go through and pick the first round and talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, absolutely. My first round is very, very easy. I went chalk. I've got all high better seeds winning. I got Okanagan, Tri-Cities Prep, Onalaska Freeman, Asotin, Northwest Christian Colbert, Napa Vine, Liberty Bell. Semifinals, I have chalk. I've got Okanagan, Onalaska. I've got Asotin, Napa Vine. Here's where things get interesting. My state championship game is not chalk. I have one chalk team in there. It's not the one you think. I've got Onalaska Asotin in the state championship game, and I've got the Loggers taking it all.
Well, a lot of people are on Alaska, and I think that them being the 4 could just be the fire that gets lit under them, Matt, to carry this all the way to the state championship game. I just look at that game potentially against Okanagan, and ultimately I'm coming back to who's going to stop Carter Kukenbu, for Okanagan, and that's a hard question that doesn't really seem to have an answer and hasn't had an answer for over the last season and a half at least. So, but I love your picks, and I don't think that you'll be the only person in our bracket challenge that has Alaska winning it. So I got no problem with where you're at here. For the first round, I've got all but one chalk. I've got Okanagan, I got Onalaska, I got Freeman, I got Asotin, I got Northwest Christian, I got Napa Vine, I got Liberty Bell, but I went with Toledo in the 8-9 game. So I think the Riverhawks have a little bone to pick here in round 1, and I think that they'll go over and win that game. I think it'll be close, but
there is precedent for them winning that. I believe 2019 Toledo came over and beat Tri-Cities Prep at Edgar Brown Stadium in a game that I showed up to just at halftime after going to Mount Si Puyallup the night before.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty fairly evenly matched, to be completely honest with you. I mean, home field advantage could end up being the kicker in this one for Tri-Cities Prep, but I wanted to search for one upset. And if you call it an upset as an 8-9, that's where I went with it.
I'd say let me throw one out there real quick.
Yeah,
adding a Liberty Bell. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's actually like one of the most underrated games of the weekend. I think that could end up being the game of the whole tournament. It wouldn't shock me at all, because I think very highly of Liberty Bell as a 6. And I think adding as an 11 is a real sleeper. They held Napa Vine to 27. So one of their, if not one of their lowest, maybe the lowest point total that they had all season. I think the only other team that might have gotten them less is Monty. Monty only gave up 19 in that one, but Adna only gave up 27. So yeah, keep an eye on the Liberty Bell Adna game for sure. So anyway, yeah, chalk minus Tri-Cities Prep in round 1. For round 2, I went with Okanagan over Toledo, and then I went with Onalaska over Freeman. And I went with Asotin over Northwest Christian, and I went Liberty Bell over Napa Vine in round 2. Ultimately, I don't think that there's a more impressive loss in the 2B class than Liberty Bell losing to Okanagan. That's where I'm at with that, and I think that they are going to pull off the upset there. Semis, I've got Okanagan over Onalaska, and then I've got Asotin over Liberty Bell, and then I've got Okanagan winning the state championship over Asotin.
Can't complain. They're unbeaten, and they're the champs until somebody takes them down.
Yeah, I mean, Napa Vine gave them a hell of a game last year. That was that was probably the best state championship game other than the Bellevue Yelm game, even though both those teams struggled to score points. It was still a really good game between Yelm and Bellevue. So a little controversy, but isn't football games, are they better with controversy? So
very much.
All right. This live stream comment section sure is dead right now, man. I haven't heard anybody type it in that we're dead wrong. Sorry, Coach Hart. I love Northwest Christian. And you know what? Rematch games, anything can happen. I think that Northwest Christian could be a real sleeper here. I think Freeman could easily find themselves into the semis or the finals. I think about five or six teams have a real shot here in this tournament. I don't think it's a definitive slam dunk for anybody.
Yeah, a Soton Northwest Christian Colbert, potential top five, two of the top five most handsome coaches in 2B matching up. So,
and that means a lot too.
Teaser. Mm-hmm.
It means a lot to have good-looking coaches in these games in the postseason. It's good for ratings on the live streams, you know.
Oh, amen, amen. NFHS loves those sexy matchups.
Yeah. Hey, whoa. N2 does too. Jeez, man, killing me here. It's not all about Matt King.
God, all right, guy, man.
That guy, such a loser. God. All right, he's over in Yakka, Vegas, doing some volleyball.
Oh, that's
I think.
Right. He's over in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, you should go pay him a visit.
See how he's doing. That means I'd have to go to Yakima.
Yeah. Can I get a top 10 handsome coach list for each class? That's asking a lot.
Jim Shapiro is number 1 overall. I can tell you that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of handsome coaches. Tell you what, man. Greater St. Helens League would be tough just to rank all up and down, man. So, yeah. All right. Let's start getting into the side dishes here of Thanksgiving, Matt. We're on our way to, what would you say? The yams, the potatoes, the stuffing, something 1A?
I'd definitely go sweet potatoes on this one.
Okay.
There's definitely there's some substance to it, but there's a lot of sweet on top.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a big fan. I gotta pull it up here real quick. Sorry. All right. 1A. This bracket's not as much fun as it has been in years past because it shrunk down to 12 teams. And, it is what it is. I have a feeling, though, that next year I will be back to a 16-team tournament. So let's see how we do this year with the 12 teams. So Royal gets the 1, Seton Catholic the 2. Yep. Oh, I'm going to tear my computer apart. Seton Catholic gets the 2, La Center gets the 3, Kashmir the 4. All of those teams are safe to the quarterfinals. And then we've got at number 5, Nooksack Valley, number 6, Montesano, number 7, Life Christian, number 8, Linden Christian, number 9, Cascade Christian, number 10, Kings. I don't know if it's Christian. No. 11, OMAC, and then 12, Zilla. I got to tell you, though, for a field of 12, this is as solid of a field of 12 as I can think of in a tournament.
Yep, I completely agree. Zilla at 12. I mean, that shows you the strength right there. Zilla's what, 8-2?
Yeah.
They're 8-2, and they're the 12 seed. I mean, it's this is a really, really, really strong field, and just top to bottom, really talented teams. My first take on the bracket was I was glad to see them keep Royal and Kashmir on the same side and Seton Catholic and La Center on the other side. I am a very big proponent of, I don't want to see league championship rematches until the state championship game. In this case, though, I threw that out the window after submitting how I would seed it. I threw that out the window because I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Both of those games were really good games. And I think that it's pretty cool that, if it gets to a point where all chalk goes through, it's not going to potentially be an SCAC final. It's not going to be a potential Trico final. We're going to get, the best of the East and the best of the West. And yeah, if we get there, obviously, if chalk goes through, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I think that it was done very, very well.
Chalk definitely goes through to the quarterfinals. That much we are guaranteed of. Love the bracket overall. I think it was a really tough bracket to do. If you have a gripe, which I'm sure people do, the game that comes into question here is Nooksack against Montesano. That game earlier this year, Montesano wins it. However, Nooksack ends up being the 5 seed, one spot ahead of them. I don't know about you, Matt, but I'm thinking that that's because of a couple things. I'm thinking it's because of the fact that the game was fairly close. Like, I think it was, what, a 4-point game or a 7-point game, off the top of my head. And the fact that Nooksack won their league while Montesano did not. And that last little push there, I think, with the way that Nooksack beat Linden Christian, I think it left a pretty good impression to the committee if you weren't already going to put Nooksack above them for those reasons. But yes, they did lose head-to-head. It was long travel. It wasn't a blowout. But I think ultimately, if you look at Montesano's season and the reason why they're 6th, I think it's because they lost to Rochester, and that's the only reason why. If they win that game, I think they're ahead of them.
Yep, 100% agreed. 100% agreed. I think that Montesano's right where they should be. The computer was I think if I remember correctly, I think the computer had them above Life Christian as well. But Montesano had a really tough schedule. They played a very tough schedule, and I think that yes, if that Rochester result is flipped, Montesano's probably playing Zilla. They probably are. But I think that this, in all honesty, at the end of the day, if I'm Montesano, this is the side of the bracket I want to be on because you're avoiding Royal until the state championship game potentially. So, yeah. So this is I think that while you're clamoring about, hey, maybe should we get screwed? I'm looking at that ladder and I'm going, all right, this is maybe where we want to be.
Yeah, I don't really think that there's a big clamor that they got screwed. I think Montesano and their fan base is pretty realistic about this, and I don't think that they have any problem being the under bulldog in the tournament here. For reasons that you just said. If you want to have a chance to win a state championship, you got to get to the freaking game, man. And if you're lining up against Royal in the quarters and the semis, you're probably not going to be there. If you are going to play them, you want it to be for all the marbles and have, that remember the Titans feeling or whatever, whatever movie game, the Miracle on Ice, you're a hockey guy, right? I get that. I bet you that one resonates with you a little bit there, but you know what I'm saying? If you're going to take down the Soviets, right? Even though that was in the semis, right? It's still
you want to take down the gold medal game.
Yeah, you want to do that exactly. You want to play for the gold medal.
It's not as fun to beat the Swedes.
No. So, and the other thing is too is one thing that we should mention here is that number one, Montesano is like not guaranteed to get past OMAC in my opinion. So. That's number one. Number two, if they are fortunate enough to get by OMAC, they would have to take on Le Center. They've already played this year, and it was in Montesano, and it was 35-7 Le Center. Granted, Montesano didn't have one of their best players who's back and playing, but rematch games are always tricky. If I'm Montesano, I'm thankful to have an opportunity to play them again, a team that I've already got film on this season for a chance to get to the state title game. So, other than that, Matt, man, I tell you what, I'll let you give me your sleeper if you had one. Who has the best chance of winning this tournament not named Royal?
Seton.
Okay, well, that's to me a 2 seed's not a sleeper, but okay, they do. I didn't really set up the question very well. That's my fault.
I just think that it's going to be whoever the only team who could beat him, the other team that is on the other side of the semifinals, and I've got Seton going through. Spoiler alert, I've got Seton going through, but it's Royals to win, until it's the same as Okanagan until they get knocked off, they're the 1 seed for a reason, but it will be fun to share our predictions here because I have some that are going to surprise some people.
Good. I'm happy about it. Yeah, I mean, the one team that I think is like a super sleeper here is Kings. Outside of that, I mean, Seton Catholic and La Center, I mean, they have the best chance. We've already seen Zilla and Royal. We've already seen Kashmir and Royal this year. You know, the one team that we really haven't seen is Nooksack Valley taking them on. That game could be pretty interesting. And I wouldn't necessarily count Nooksack Valley out there, but let's just talk about it, Matt. Let's just figure it out. Tell me what your bracket looks like in the first round.
All right. So my first round winners, I have Linden Christian over Cascade Christian. I have Nooksack Valley over Zilla. I have Kings over Life Christian Academy, and I have Montesano over OMAC. So that moves on to my quarterfinals. My quarterfinals, I've got Royal over Linden Christian. I've got Nooksack Valley over Kashmir. I've got Seton Catholic over Kings, and I've got Montesano over La Center. My semifinals, I've got Royal over Nooksack. I've got Seton Catholic over Montesano, and then I've got Royal over Seton in the state championship game.
Very similar here. I got Linden Christian over Cascade Christian, and then I've got Nooksack over Zilla, Kings over Life Christian, and then Montesano over OMAC. And then I got Royal over Linden Christian, Nooksack over Kashmir, Seton Catholic over Kings, and then I got La Center over Montesano, and then I got Royal over Nooksack in the semis, and Seton Catholic over La Center, and then I got Royal winning the championship over Seton Catholic.
Yeah,
I think it's a tough bracket. I think it's a tough bracket to really go off the rails here. You know, unless some catastrophic thing happens in Royal City over the next 3 weeks, I don't think that there's any way that they get tripped up. They're just too strong, and you know they're just that they're in a league of their own. They're like the Tumwater of the 1A class this year. You know.
Yeah, and I feel like this bracket sets up for the potential for some catastrophic happening. I mean, because you know you've got your top 4 seeds, you got to make sure that you are on it over this bye week, because you know you're going to get some teams with momentum rolling in. And that's one of the reasons why I'm taking Nooksack over Kashmir and Monty over La Center. Is I feel like those teams are gonna get some good momentum, some positivity going, and I think they're gonna channel it into, you know, a good game against. And I mean, Nooksack's gonna have a tough travel down to Wenatchee for that game against Kashmir, but you know, relatively not too difficult travel days to to be able to take that momentum and push through to the semifinals. But you know, it's going to be really interesting to see. That's one of the reasons I don't like the 12 team. I don't like the teams having the buys in the first round. I like everybody being on the same page of rest and
travel.
Travel. Well, not necessarily travel, but but rest and just how often that they have played in league in games. So
sure. Yeah, it looks like that the big split here in this week's games is Life Christian and Kings. Although, I mean, OMAC won a game last year on the road against La Center. They had a good quarterback, Bo Sackman, and they were able to do some nice things throwing the football down the field. So, I mean, the Pioneers, they may not have the sexiest schedule this year, 6-4, but, they won last week's game against Connell 34-0. Is it Connell or Connell? You would know, right?
Connell.
Connell, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Connell.
Good. Yeah. OMAC beat Mount Baker. Other than that, I mean, they beat Chelan 56-22. They played Liberty Bell and lost to them by a couple. They beat Brewster. They played Clarkston, lost to Clarkston. They beat Colville.
Yeah,
that's the game to really compare, I guess, is Colville 33-7 and Montesano just beat them, I think, 49-0. So
yeah, and OMAC too kind of got shafted when Kashmir bolted for the SCAC. They kind of with a 3-team league, they got to have a scheduling agreement with the 2B league up there. So they're playing, so they kind of got shafted with that. But, I mean, you do what you can with what you get, and they're there, and they're going to make some noise.
All right, it's time to move up. We're moving on up. Okay, so we're past the yams. Now we're at the rolls. I got to get some rolls here.
Good with that.
And, rolls just keep on rolling. That was stupid. But Tumwater continues to roll. They just demolished poor Renton last week, which, yeah, that's a soapbox thing real quick. I want to bring it up. If you're one of these haters out here that hates the idea of teams getting blown out in the playoffs, what would you rather them do? Quit? Oh, hey, great news. We went 4-5. We went 5-4. We just made the playoffs. But bad news, we got to play the number one team in the state. We got no chance, guys. What should we do? Mail it in? No. Said no one ever. So teams are very happy to play. And if they get blown out, that's what sports is. Chance to get better every week. Anyway, Tumwater, the best in the land in 2A. They are the number one seed. Number 2, Anacortes. No shock. Number 3, Matt, we had this one. We pegged this one pretty much all year. The ceiling for Franklin Pierce was the 3 spot. I wasn't quite sure the committee would do it. I thought that they might put an Archbishop Murphy here or a Linden here, but Franklin Pierce gets the nod at number 3, and then Linden at 4, Archbishop at 5, setting up a potential matchup with those two. And then number 6, WF West jumps West Valley. And West Valley's in at number 7, number 8, Othello, 9, Seaholm, 10, Prosser, 11, Olympic, 12, Ording, 13, Fife, 14, East Valley, Yakima, 15, Bainbridge, and then 16, Cedar Crest. My first impressions is just like the 1A bracket. There are a lot of good teams in this field here, Matt.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's there are a lot of teams that can make some noise. Even going down to honestly, all the way down to 14. There are teams that while I don't think they'll win, I think that they'll make things interesting. Fife at 13. Okay. Ording at 12. Okay. East Valley of Yakima's no slouch either. I mean, I don't think any of those teams are going to win, but I think that they can make things very interesting for those teams above them.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at last week's performance, Justin just mentioned it. The Greater St. Helens League did not have a great showing, but Mark Morris went on the road and they gave West Valley Spokane pretty much all they can handle from a defensive standpoint. They held them to 21 points overall. And looking at who West Valley played overall this year, that's the reason why they're here at 7, and they drew a very tough matchup with Prosser. By the way, the CWAC really looked great in crossover rounds, and East Valley has a 14. It could be a sneaky tough there matchup for Franklin Pierce. I know on the surface it looks like, could be a mismatch, but man, East Valley Yakima had a great win over North Kitsap last week. Olympic had a really big win over Washougal, 42-6. WF West dominant in their win. I mean, pretty much everybody that you see here are fairly dominant in their win. Cedar Crest even went on the road and beat Woodland 34-14. I mean, it's gonna be super tough, I think, for just about everybody. But I'm just wondering kind of who has enough left in the gas tank by the time that you get deeper into this bracket, Matt.
Yeah, it's yeah, this is gonna be the one that I think is gonna be it's gonna be really fun to watch this one, because you've got so many different contrasting styles, and we're gonna really see now as we get into November, is it going to be that spread them out passing style that's going to take you far, or is it going to be your ground and pound style? And I think that what I think is going to be the prevailing system will be very evident when my predictions are made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of big boy football, especially in the month of November. Teams that can win up front and control the line of scrimmage are going to be the teams that advance into this tournament. But like I just mentioned, I'm just concerned as to who's going to have the most in the gas tank by the time this thing's all over with. And I mean, who do you think, if there was a team here that was the biggest winner with where they're at in the bracket? Sorry to put you on the spot there. I don't know if
Oh,
you
that's
had this
fine.
on the top of your head, but just looking at the bracket and how it shaped out, who do you think won the most by where they're at?
I think that Othello. I think Othello won the most because I think there was a very compelling argument that Seaholm could have potentially been the host of that game. Being, I mean, yeah, they're the fourth seed coming out of a league, but a league that has three of the top five. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think that that one. I think that if you're Olympic, that's the other one. Olympic at 11. I did not have them that high. I think I had them at 13. But I mean, you look at the teams right below them. I'm not really giving Olympic much of a chance against WF West, but you look at Ording at 12, Fife at 13, East Valley Yakima at 14, and I think that there's a compelling argument that those guys could be that maybe they should be lower. But obviously, I'm not gonna. Committee knows more than I do. They've watched these teams more than I have. So yeah, that's kind of. I think that would be my answer for that one.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's not necessarily the first round matchup that determines why I think this team is the biggest winner here. Um, but I'll give you two teams. Number one, I think Anacortes is the biggest winner overall. The reason why, they avoided the side of the bracket that's got Archbishop Murphy, Linden, Seaholm, and Tumwater. So I'm not saying they're not going to run into some tough games here. All right. But the other team that I felt won was Franklin Pierce because they're on the same side with Anacortes. Both of these teams have pretty realistic paths to where they can get to the semis and deal with each other. I think on the other side, though, you've got so many physical teams, that are going to have to match up with each other and just go to war and win in the trenches. Archbishop Murphy and Ording, that's going to be a tough game. Linden and Fife, that's going to be a tough game for both teams. Of course, if Linden and Archbishop, if they came out of that, played each other, I mean, of course, they're going to go to war. They already have this year. It was 7-3. Cedar Crest was pretty physical last week against a good Woodland defense. I mean, Tumwater having to play them and then possibly a Seaholm or an Othello, and then they're going to have to battle with whoever comes out of that bottom half of that side. Man, I would hate to be on that side of the bracket. So I think Anacortes won big, not being the 2 seed, but just being able to avoid those other teams.
What do I think is going to be the game of the week in this one? I am going to give that one to West Valley, Spokane, and Prosser. I think that one will be the closest game. I think that one is the one that with the highest potential of road team winning.
Yeah, I mean, this week, I think for some reason, I think that WF Weston Olympics going to be a real good game.
Okay.
I think that 6-11 game is going to be real interesting. There's a little bit of a barometer there with both of them playing North Kitsap already this season. Mm-hmm. I also think that the Prosser West Valley Spokane game is going to be really good. I want to say Linden and Fife, but I feel that ultimately Fife is a little limited in what they can do from a passing standpoint if they need to. Having watched the game that they just played, they were able to run with success. But Linden's a 3-tier team, Matt. They can run, they can pass, they can play defense. If you want to throw in another tier, they can win with special teams if needed. I think Fife is going to be physical for the Lions up front. It could be a low-scoring game, but points could be at a premium for Fife in that one. But it could be a real physical game. But game of the week, I think WF Weston Olympic to me is going to be a really good matchup. I like that game. Last year, Brian said, nobody touches Tumwater. Book it. I was wrong. This year, I say, nobody touches Tumwater. Book it in all caps. Wow. What about Othello and Seaholm? Yeah, could be a really good game. Again, styles make good football games. I think the big question in that game is, can Othello's defense stop Andre Watson at wide receiver for Seaholm? And if they can limit the passing game, because Seaholm's going to match with physicality, but if Seaholm can throw the ball and move it downfield, I think that they can pull off the road upset there.
Yeah, weather's going to be the big factor in that one. Is it going to be, they're playing up at the grass field there in Othello, so is it going to be rainy and muddy and slow, or is it going to be a fast-paced game?
Yeah. James says, I think the big sleeper here is mighty Kingston. Who the hell is Kingston? Bainbridge?
No. I think, it's they're not there.
Yeah,
I think it's the same. It's the same way I feel about the mighty Hanford Falcons winning the 4A state championship. That's I think it's similar along the lines of that one right there.
I was like Kingston, they're done. Like they're not playing. Yeah,
Kingston's always playing.
Right. All right. Anything else to talk about and dissect on the bracket before we make our picks?
I think it's time for some picks.
Okay. What about the Kingston Buccaneers? James, we're done with the Kingston Buccaneers. They're not there. They're not present. Matthew says W. I don't know. I don't know what the W is in reference to, but we get a lot of W's, Matt.
We do. All right, let's go with some picks. So,
all right.
I am going with going from the top to the bottom. I'm going Tumwater Seaholm. I'm going Linden Archbishop Murphy. I'm going Anacortes Prosser, and I'm going Franklin Pierce WF West. That's my quarterfinal matchups. So 2 road games. In the semifinals, I've got Tumwater and Archbishop Murphy, and I've got Anacortes Franklin Pierce. And then I fully believe that if you can ground and pound, you're going to go far. So my state championship game is Tumwater Franklin Pierce, and I have Tumwater winning it all.
Yeah. Good picks. I like it. I went Tumwater in the first game against Cedar Crest, and I went Seaholm, I went Linden, went Archbishop Murphy over Ording, Anacortes over Bainbridge. I also went Prosser over West Valley Spokane here. I went Franklin Pierce over East Valley Yakima. I went WF West over Olympic. Franklin Pierce over WF West, and then Anacortes over Prosser. And then I've got Linden over Archbishop Murphy. And I really struggled with that one, Matt. But ultimately, I feel that if you could hold Archbishop to 3 points the first time they played him, that must mean that you got some pretty good game planning going on there. And I think that Linden's coaching pedigree, along with their championship medal, proven year in and year out, I think they're a real sleeper here, honestly. Hard to imagine that Linden's a sleeper at all. And then I got Tumwater beating Seaholm in the quarterfinals. I do have Tumwater and Linden in the semis. I went with Tumwater, although would not be completely shocked to see Linden potentially pull off an upset there. And then I went Anacortes against Franklin Pierce, and I chose Anacortes. And I'm still on the Seahawks here. I went with Anacortes winning the championship over Tumwater. Still the most dangerous 2-player combo in the state, in my opinion, with Brock and Brady Beaner. This is a little different Tumwater team from last year, and I know that from my sources that they have the score posted all over, from last year's state championship game, and they have been reliving that moment all season long. They were challenged in the offseason, knowing that they probably might have to play Anacortes again to win the championship, and I know that they really, really, really want an opportunity to play them again. But I'm still going with Anacortes in this one. I picked them preseason. I'm not going to veer off that preseason pick yet, so I'm going there.
The one thing I want to touch back on Archbishop Murphy and Linden. So that first game was played at Linden 7-3. Obviously, we know how that game went. This time, game could not be at Linden due to it being a grass field. It's going to be either at Ferndale or at Civic Stadium. That being on turf, I think that's what makes the difference. That's why I went with Archbishop Murphy.
And we're splitting hairs here, man. That was a 7-3 game. I mean, anything can happen. It's just that more recently, I'm going with a team that I'm a little bit more confident in, when it comes to postseason play. And I don't think that Archbishop's a bad team. In fact, they're the only team that beat Anacortes this year. They just demolished Seaholm a couple weeks ago. Mama Evans. Woo! But Yeah, back to it. I mean, I don't think it's absurd at all to have Archbishop Murphy in the semis. If you're on the Tumwater side of the bracket, I'm not looking forward to who I have to play to get to go play Anacortes. That's why I'm saying, like, by the time you get to this championship game, whoever does, how many battles are these teams going to have been played in, to get to this point, and how much attrition is it going to take? I know that those 2A teams up in Northwest, I know they got a lot of depth, but they're going to be tested, week in and week out. So Brian's the only person that's really thrown a prediction in here for who's going to win, and it's other than James with Kingston, but Tumwater. That's what I'm not opposed to that. I think that the way that they've demolished everybody this year, I'd be pretty surprised if they don't win it. But when I pick a team that's going to be in the championship game and they're still available, I'm going with them until I'm wrong. So that's where I'm at. All right. Anything you got to add, buddy, before we move up to 3A?
No, sir.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to pull up the old 3A bracket here. All right. Coming in at number 1 is Bellevue. Big shock. Number 2, O'Day. Big shock. 3, Eastside Catholic. 4, Lakes. Now, to me, legit big shock. 5, Roosevelt. 6, Lincoln Tacoma. 7, Decatur. 8, Kennewick. 9, Enumclaw. 10, Mount Tahoma. 11, Central Valley. Number 12, Federal Way. 13, Seattle Prep. 14, Monroe. 15, Mercer Island. And 16, Stanwood. Impressions from you, Mr. Evans?
I get no respect at all. Oh, sorry. Impressions of the bracket. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. The look that Mrs. Evans just gave me. Worth it.
Good. Tumwater over Kingston in the title game from Justin. Oh my God, that's so good, Justin.
Justin, it's hard for Kingston to get to the 2A's title game when they're the 1A 13 seed that we just established. So,
yeah,
come on, man. Gosh, these guys, our audience. My impressions of this one, a lot of bewilderment, I guess would be the word that I'm saying. I mean, because I'm good with the top 3. Lakes, I'm kind of okay. I think that the 4 was kind of a tough one to determine, because I don't think you can put Roosevelt at 4. I think them at 5's perfect, but then what do you do at 4? You've got Lakes, you've got Lincoln, you've got Decatur, you've got Kennewick, you've got Enumclaw, you've got 5 teams kind of for a spot. I don't know, and Lakes has a loss to Mount Tahoma, who's the 10 seed. It's just this is the one that I struggled with the most. Like when I was doing my projections, I'm not gonna lie, guys, 4 through 10 I spent probably a good 20-25 minutes just kind of debating these teams back and forth and comparing, and I ended up going with Decatur at 4. Clearly I was wrong about that one. And then Monroe at 14. I don't know. I really don't know. I think Monroe's I mean, I honestly, I think let me rephrase that a little bit. I think Monroe gets seeded above Seattle Prep, but you can't seed Seattle Prep at 14 because it'd be a league matchup against Eastside Catholic. I think Monroe could be seeded above Federal Way, which you could make that switch, but I don't think Federal Way is the 14. So I have a lot of questions. About that one. I don't have anybody I can reach out to about it, unfortunately, but lots of questions about this one.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like you said, the top 3 to me is pretty clear cut. When you get to 4, though, I don't see Lakes in this spot at all. I would actually be much happier to see Decatur there. And I look at the
Lincoln.
6-7.
I'd be okay with Lincoln being at the 4.
No, I can't. Decatur has if you compare the resumes between the 3 teams, Decatur's got the best win. And they only won by 1. In fact, they only won by 1 against Federal Way as well. But they've got wins over Enumclaw. They got wins over Federal Way. They have a win over Skyview. So to me, it's like I don't know what else you can do. I mean, the league product isn't going to be anything that's too monumental for them. But winning is winning, man. I mean, I just can't justify having Lincoln above them. Now, if it plays out on the field and those two go against each other, it could be a really, really close game, and I wouldn't be shocked if Lincoln beats them. But just 10-0, Lakes just recently came off a loss. I mean, they were down big against Mount Tahoma, who's the 10 seed. There's a lot of this math just isn't mathing to me. That's all. I would have Decatur there at 4. But either way, we had this conversation a couple of times this year. Roosevelt's got 3 losses. How do you feel about them? And we both kind of said they're probably still a top 5 talent team. And the committee recognized that and realized that. And they've got them at 5. I don't have a problem with that per se. I just don't think when you compare the resumes for Lakes, Lincoln, and Decatur that you get this formula. That's all. But, at the end of the day, I mean, teams are going to have a chance to play. I think Decatur got a pretty tough draw with 10 seed Mount Tahoma. I think there's some really tough double-digit seeds here. I mean, Monroe probably could have been higher and should have been higher than Prep and Federal Way, in my opinion. Another 10-0 team in Mercer Island. I mean, I think that you could justify moving them up a couple of spots there. But ultimately, a lot of tough teams. I think that Kennewick Enumclaw matchup is going to be super good for an 8-9. I think that's a pretty intriguing game. I think Lakes got a terrible draw as the 4 playing Seattle Prep. I think it's going to be a super tough game for Lakes in that one. That's kind of where I'm at here. I mean, I think the big winner of the bracket was Lincoln of Tacoma. Honestly, I think that's a team that won the position battle and won a good spot. And if it doesn't go off of the last couple of years, if it only goes off of this year, I mean, I think they really won. So that's just the way I look at the bracket and how I see it.
Yeah, I think that it's there has to be some sort of history that played into it. Otherwise, how does undefeated Decatur drop down to 7? But I don't know.
Do you think they have the best win of those 3 teams?
Of those 3, absolutely. I think they have
3-0 playoff teams.
I think if you look at it, Decatur has a win over number 9. They have a win over number 10, and they have a win over a 4A playoff team. Lakes has a loss to number 10.
I don't know what Lakes did this year that warrants being number 4.
Yeah,
you're a nice guy, Matt. You're a real nice guy. You're a real nice guy.
I am a nice guy.
Yeah, you're a real nice guy. All right. Other than that, I think it's a pretty clear bracket on how it's going to end up.
Yep.
How they get there, I don't know. The semantics of it might not matter too much. But some of the resumes that these teams put together this year, it's just kind of not meshing very well with how the start of it's going to go. Ultimately, though, I don't really think there's going to be much controversy, in this bracket.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You want to go ahead and lead it off here?
Absolutely. So I have Stanwood losing in the first round. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So my quarterfinals, I've got Bellevue, I've got Enumclaw, I've got Lakes, I've got Roosevelt, I've got O'Dea, I've got Decatur, I've got Eastside Catholic, I've got Lincoln of Tacoma. Semifinals, I've got Bellevue Roosevelt, I've got O'Dea Eastside Catholic, I've got Bellevue O'Dea, and I have Bellevue. So I'm fairly certain that's going to be pretty much how every single submission is going to look when these go live on Friday.
Ooh, I'll have to double check mine because I think that I've got O'Day winning it all.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think I have O'Day winning it all. Again, I can't access it. I did it the other day, so it's like, yeah. I should be able to remember these things, but I do have Bellevue, and I've got Kennewick winning this game here. MCC tough. I think that their schedule's been very, very difficult all year long, considering how many teams have performed very well in that have gotten to the playoffs so far. So I like Kennewick in that game. I went Seattle Prep in a 13-4 game over Lakes. I'm going Metro here. I think that Seattle Prep is going to be a little bit underrated going into this game, and I think that they might actually be a little bit more physical than Lakes. So, put it out there, bulletin board material, chop it up. Man, this game I think is going to be really tough here. I think Roosevelt Federal Way is going to be a game, but I went Roosevelt. And then O'Day, of course, over Mercer Island. I went with Decatur over Mount Tahoma, and then Eastside Catholic over Monroe, and then Lincoln of Tacoma. In the quarters, I went Eastside Catholic over Lincoln of Tacoma, O'Day over Decatur, and then I went with Roosevelt over Seattle Prep, and then Bellevue over Kennewick. And then I went Bellevue over Roosevelt, and then O'Day over Eastside Catholic, and then O'Day over Bellevue in the championship. And I'm in it to win it. I do expect a lot of people to pick Bellevue as well. And on the surface, I kind of want to pick them. But ultimately, Matt, I just went back to the way that O'Day beat Eastside Catholic. And the teams don't do that very often to Eastside Catholic. They'll have to do it again. And I think that if you beat them twice and, the way they did in the regular season, I think their defense is real tough. And if you want a team that's going to stop and slow Bellevue down, they've got to be fast on the edges and good at the linebacking core. And I think that they'll have a good enough defense to slow Bellevue down enough, and they'll be able to do enough on offense.
Yeah.
You're a Bellevue guy.
I am a Bellevue guy. They, I mean, why not? They're just, it's a great program. They do great things from top to bottom. It's the same thing I've said. I'm the broken record. It's the same thing I've said again at 2B and 1A. They're the champs until somebody beats them, and I think that they're
agreed.
They're the best.
I could pick them, and I can see them winning, but hey, bold men make bold decisions sometimes, and I'll be boldly wrong. It happens. Eric Haynes wants to know, would Tumwater be the number 1 seed if they were 3A or 4A?
I was just about to answer that one on the Facebook post, but I'll answer it on here. I'd have them 4 in both of them.
Yeah, it'd be pretty tough, man. It'd be tough having them above Bellevue, O'Day, or Eastside Catholic.
I think they'd be a hell of a 4 seed, but I'd have them at 4 in both of them. Maybe 3 in 4A. Maybe 3, but 4 for sure.
All right, buddy. Let's finish it up with the turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to the turkey. 4A.
Or if you're a refined person over here like me, the ham.
The ham, a refined person. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Thanksgiving progressive right here.
All right. Camas is your number 1 overall, Matt, and no shock there. Number 2 seed is Sumner. Number 3 is Chiawana. Number 4, Kennedy Catholic. Number 5, Gonzaga Prep. Number 6, Lake Stevens. And then number 7, Skyview. Number 8, Arlington. 9, Graham Kapowson. 10, Bothell. 11, Meade. 12 seed, Emerald Ridge. 13, Richland. 14, Puyallup. 15, Kamaikan. And then 16, Curtis. impressions of the 4A bracket, Matt?
I'm gonna go not nice guy here. I'm gonna say, how the hell is Arlington below Lake Stevens with a recent head-to-head win?
Yeah, didn't they play?
How? They played recently and they beat
in
them
league?
on the field
Yeah.
in league. How? It does not make sense to me at all. And I mean, I can't even think of a way to justify it. Like, I mean, yeah, Lake Stevens is a two-time defending champion, and I know that. Or wait, are they two-time defending champion? I think they're two-time defending champion. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm
Yep.
probably talking out of my butt. But Lake Stevens
Nope.
has won a
They
lot
are.
recently. They've won a lot recently. Yes, they have. Okay. And if Glacier Peak is still in here, then yeah, you have a discussion of, okay, Glacier Peak beat so and so, these guys beat so and so, these guys beat so so, but Glacier Peak's gone. If you're comparing two teams head to head in the league, Arlington was the league champion. They beat Lake Stevens, and they are seated 2 seeds below. Makes no sense to me at all. Other than that, I think that the way they did the bottom of the bracket with Curtis, Kamaikan, Puyallup, Richland at those bottom seeds, spot on. It's exactly how I would have done it. It's how things fared out in their leagues. I think it's great. I think the bracket looks really good overall, other than just literally that one thing that just like as soon as the brackets came out publicly, I got more text messages, but some folks saw them a little early. Not going to say any names, but there were lots of discussions beforehand about Arlington as the 8 and Lake Stevens as a 6, and just kind of, okay, why? And I don't have an answer. I wish I did, but it does not make any sense to me. And the biggest thing is, like, you could flip them and it could be fine. If you flip Arlington to 6, they play Meade, great. You have Lake Stevens, Graham Kapowsin. Okay, so they've played in the state championship a couple times. Cool. Haven't played this year. It's looks like a good 8-9 matchup to me. I mean, heck, you can't drop Skyview down to 8. Obviously, they played Graham Kapowsin this year, but Lake Stevens can drop to 8. Doesn't make any sense. Kind of, it's on my Twitter handle or on my Twitter bio. It does say seeding Sunday anger issues, and that was my trigger this year.
It's embarrassing, I put the poll together this week for who got snubbed the worst, and Arlington and Onalaska were the top 2 bidders, and I think that Arlington got way more snubbed. Right, overall in the bracket, I didn't have a huge problem with everything, but we're talking about a 9-1 team, right, in Arlington that beat a 7-3 Lake Stevens team. Okay, like they played in the same schedule other than the non-league games here that Lake Stevens lost, right? So if you want to take those out and throw them out the window, fine, do it. How do you end up to this equation, though? This is the answer, that you're basically saying that in league games to where the league champion beats you, right, doesn't matter. I have a huge problem with it. If they're three-way, were they a three-way tie in league for first with them in Glacier Peak and Lake Stevens, right? Like, if you're going to crutch on that to put Lake Stevens above them, but like you said, Glacier Peak is gone. They're not in the equation anymore. So obviously Lake Stevens is the big winner here in the bracket to get a 6 seed, I think. But I mean, it's not like it's, that I feel that Lake Stevens is not deserving of being the 6th best team. We'll get to that. But if you're going to start the tournament, you at least started out on the right foot. And I feel like that the committee really did a terrible job in this regard between these two teams. Other than that, no, I don't have a real problem with where anybody's at here. I think that Camas at 1 is obvious. I think Sumner at 2 is obvious. I think Chihuahua at 3 is obvious. I think Kennedy Catholic at 4 is obvious. I mean, if you really want to split hairs here and form an argument between Chihuahua and Kennedy Catholic, I'm willing to listen. But Chihuahua didn't lose to anybody in state, and they played a super tough team from Idaho. 5 seed Gonzaga Prep seems pretty obvious to me, I think, although they didn't get a good draw. But yeah, I mean, Lake Stevens getting Meade as the 11, that's a huge win, man. I mean, the other team that got a huge win, I think, is Skyview, although Bothel's no prize to get. Last week we were talking about how does Skyview get out of that 8-9 game, and we both came to the same conclusion that Skyview cannot be below Graham Kapowsin based on a head-to-head win, right? Mm-hmm. So if it hadn't been for Kamaikin helping them out, they'd be in that 8-9 game right now. And Graham Kapowsin would be a 10 seed. They'd be playing who the 7 would be in that scenario, which would probably be Moses Lake, honestly. Mm-hmm. But so Skyview is a big winner here. They avoid that potential 8-1 matchup. They also avoid potentially running up against Arlington, in that first round. Not that that's like a terrible matchup either, but outside of that, there's a lot of depth in this class too. I mean, honestly, all of the A classes have got really good brackets here, like really good teams. Looking at this 4-13 matchup here with Kennedy Catholic and Richland, no thank you. No. Richland's a 13. Even this Camas and Curtis game, Curtis is a 16. Like there's a lot of scary matchups here for everybody. Sumner, Kamaikin, I'm not interested. Emerald Ridge and Gonzaga Prep, man. I mean, you could spot an upset just about anywhere. The only place that I'm not looking at a potential upset here is Lake Stevens and Meade. Other than that, anything can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. And I think if I have one other slight mini gripe, it goes to the travel argument. I think that you could have potentially flipped Emerald Ridge and Richland and had Richland go to Gonzaga Prep and have Emerald Ridge play Kennedy Catholic. That's just a slight gripe. But other than that, like I really do think that side's good. Hi, Meg. Hi. Meg's awesome.
Travel, is a huge issue.
Yeah.
James has Lake Stevens and Puyallup. What? Puyallup? Huh?
Must have that one in the quarterfinals.
Okay. I was like, okay. Well, I'm not playing in the title game here. Anyway.
Very early title game.
Yeah, super early. Yeah. Rumor has it Meg may or may not have neither confirm nor deny was on the seating committee. I would love to have Meg lend us some insight if she has any as to what went down in the Arlington deal. She's not?
There were as far as I've heard, there were no media actually on the football committees. We had some that were there kind of maybe to assist, maybe to, answer some questions or something. But as far as I've heard from my very, very reliable sources, there were no media on any of the committees. Doesn't mean that we weren't there. I wasn't, but, doesn't mean that they weren't there. There were some on the others. I do know of one media member on the 2A soccer committee, I believe, but all other great, awesome media folk. But and I'll be honest with you, like I'm sorry I'm going off of soapbox, but I get asked about if I'd be interested in doing it again, and obviously the answer would be yes. I'd love to do it, but I would turn it down if they'd ask me to, because I love the role I'm in right now. It's so much fun to be able to talk about this and be able to, actually answer questions and not be like trying to, like if I'm on the 4A committee being like, well, blah, 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 try to be politically correct when I can just come out there and be the nice guy who occasionally tears somebody a new butthole recently,
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah,
no, this is definitely a lot funner. I don't want the finger pointed to me and blamed. Not that I'd ever be asked to do something like this, but
I used to be like 5 or 6 years ago. I'll tell you, I used to get like I had very thin skin when it came to the rankings and stuff. I'd put stuff out there and someone would be like, challenging me on it, and I'd be like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm just like, what? If you don't like the rankings, go watch somebody else. I don't care, whatever. I do what I do. It's for
That's
fun.
not
Who
what you
cares?
want to say. You want to say,
Yeah,
go
like, who
F
cares?
yourself. Go,
Like,
yeah.
do the old Southern Belle. Bless your heart.
Go take a long walk off a short pier. That's what Matt Evans wants to say.
Speaking of long walks off short pier, how about these predictions? What do you think? Think we should we should get into those?
Man, if we need to change the subject, yeah, sure, we can totally do that.
Segue. Get
All right.
the old Joe Bluth segue out. All right. So I'll how about I go first? I've got some
Stick with it. Stick with
this
the team.
This is a fun bracket to do. This is my favorite bracket to do because I went through it and I was like, I went with my gut, just first choice. Didn't even think about it, just went boom, 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 boom. Did that for every single one. Here's what I came up with. And I feel very confident about it. So I have Camus, Graham Kapowson, Richland, Gonzaga Prep, Sumner, Bothell, Chiawana, Lake Stevens for my quarterfinals. My semifinals, I've got Camus, Gonzaga Prep, Sumner, Chiawana. My state championship game, I've got Gonzaga Prep and Sumner, and I have Sumner winning the state championship.
Excellent, sir. I think that we're going to see a lot of differences in all of the predictions here. By the way, if you guys haven't joined yet, make sure that you jump on Evan's rankings. It's on Twitter, the artist formerly known as Twitter X. It's this pinned tweet or post, whatever we're doing here. All you gotta do is click it. It's free. All right. There's links to every bracket. We've got 33 of these things filled out so far for 4A, and I have a feeling that you're going to see 33 completely different brackets, Matt, and I'd like to see more. So let's make sure that we get everybody signed up. Make sure you're retweeting everything. I just got to point out real quick that Meg is in top tier form here in the live stream comment section with Go Bucks. Yes, that she's been reading. That's epic. Good work. All right. You're wrong, Matt. Oh, he says Evan. It's Matt, though. Lake Stevens is going to take Kennedy Catholic in the championship game. So,
okay. I've had some communication with some Kennedy Catholic people talking about this Richland team, and Richland did go up and take Kennedy Catholic to the end a couple of years ago, and the folks that I've talked to agree that this Richland team's a lot better than that one. And Richland's got a talented sophomore quarterback who's watched his older brother do it for 4 years, and they've got 4 good targets, and they've got a very stout defense. And I have a feeling that this is the year that the MCC comes out and says, you know what, we are MCC, hear us roar.
Roar. Yeah, Kennedy Catholic hasn't really played the absolute toughest schedule in the world. I think that all of the teams in the MCC outside of a couple, I won't throw any names out there, Matt, but are pretty tough. I think there's a lot of tough teams there. So yeah, you could see a battle tested Richland team, and even they played Skyview as well on the road. So I believe that was a 1-score game, and that was a big game for Skyview emotionally, so Richland they played a pretty tough schedule this year. I wouldn't be completely shocked there, but I'll give you my predictions here now. I went with Kansas in the first round over Curtis, and then I went Graham Kapowson over Arlington. I like the fact that we're both there on that game. I did go Kennedy Catholic in this one, and then I went Gonzaga Prep. But I always want to say that if there's a good upset potential, I think it's here in the 5-12 matchup. I think Emerald Ridge is a game opponent and could possibly beat Gonzaga Prep. I got Sumner over Kamaikan. This game scares the shit out of me. Skyview and Bothell, I went Skyview, but man, there's another one of those games where Bothell is just. I think that they've won 4 in a row or 5 in a row now, Matt, and they look like a totally different team at the start of the season. I did go Chiawana over Puyallup, and then I went Lake Stevens over Meade, and then in the quarters I've got Camus over GK. Although, again, I mean, these games are going to be so tough. I got Kennedy Catholic over Gonzaga Prep, and then I got Sumner over Skyview, and I got Lake Stevens over Chiawana. And then back up at the top, I've got Camas over Kennedy Catholic in the semis. I've got Lake Stevens over Sumner in the semis. And then I went Camas and Lake Stevens in the championship game. And I went Lake Stevens.
Nice.
All the controversy in the world behind where they're seated at, and I'm going to end up picking them. Because second game around against Sumner, only lost by a field goal. They still got Colton Madsen at the quarterback, and I think that they got some pretty favorable matchups here. I think that the side of the bracket that they're on is a little bit more manageable. So I'm going with that. That's where I'm at.
Hey, week 1, that was my pick too. Lake Stevens over Camas. So, I don't put it past you. I like that Lake Stevens team. I really do. I could see them making a run. I feel like, I think that one of the things that's going to be tough for them is now they're, now that Brian,
I couldn't pick Evergreen, so
Brian, I've got a finger for you. Guess which one? No, I think that the biggest difference now is Lake Stevens is going to have to go on the road in the quarterfinals. Barring Puyallup beating Chiawana, Lake Stevens is going to have to go on the road, and they're used to playing at home all the way up to the finals. And I think that could be the thing that kind of derails them this year is, that trek over the mountains, especially coming over here when it's cold, is not fun, because the cold on the west side is a lot different than the cold on the east side. And when it gets cold over here, it gets bone chilling. And I don't know if, that's something that they're going to be ready for, to be honest with you, if that happens.
I heard it's a dry cold.
It's a cold that hurts. It physically hurts to be outside in it. It's because the air is stagnant too, and it hurts so bad standing out there. It is like 3 sets of gloves. Absolutely 3 sets of gloves.
Yeah. I lived in Pullman for a little while when I was a younger man, and yeah, it's definitely not fun to be outside in the wintertime, but nevertheless, Evergreen versus Kingston in the 4A finals, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. Brian brought up a good point about how could Tumwater be number 4, Matt, in the 4A when they beat Puyallup by 100, and Sumner only beat Puyallup by 3. So
that's my response to that.
Yeah, thumbs up. I will die happy if I ever cover playoff football at Edgar Brown and Fred Rush.
well, Meg, you just let me know if you're coming over to Edgar Brown. Just let me know. I'll gladly come over and meet you over there. This week. I'll be in Richland for Ocosta Liberty Christian on Friday afternoon, and then fingers crossed we'll see how the boys doing. But we may take the boy out to Edgar Brown for Puyallup and Chiawana this weekend. I was gonna go to Toledo and Tracy's Prep, but they moved that game to Grandview, and I don't want to drive back towards Yakima to be able to go watch a game. So we'll go to Pasco instead. But
why is that though? Why did they move it to Grandview?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't think there's anything going on at Fran Rish. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, they're both turf fields. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure. Kind of disappointed, but it's maybe it's just they thought that they could knock off another half an hour of travel. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to potentially seeing a Seton Catholic La Center game somewhere being played in like the Vancouver area. Seton Catholic's the higher seed there, so you could see that game possibly played at Doc Harris and Camas. You could see that being played at McKenzie. You don't
I
think
don't
so?
think that. I don't think it'd be at Doc Harris. I think they'd. I think they would. They'd play that one at McKenzie or even maybe Kiggins. I don't know which one
Higgins?
they normally use down there, but I think from what I've heard, I just don't think that parking wise or seating wise, it's good for both home and away. I think that's what they try to do is have not necessarily equal, but at least decent seating arrangements for both. But ultimately, when it comes into semifinals, it's going to be about proximity too. Is there going to be another game possibly there? Obviously, Camus probably will get through the semifinals, so more than likely you'll have a couple of those teams there playing. I don't know. The one I'm looking forward to, potential semifinal game, and I hope it happens because I want to see it. I want to see it here. Napa Vina Soton. I think that'd be a hell of a game, and solid chance that it's here. Maybe it's in Moses Lake. I don't think it's going to be for any further east than that, but if that's happening, you could be darn sure that you're going to see the old Teal Washington there on the sidelines.
Well, I have to put my crown on real quick here.
Oh yes, the king.
As James is typing in that he's very proud of me for picking Lake Stevens. Well, the theme of this is that if I picked you to win the championship before it started and you're in the bracket, I'm picking you to win the championship regardless of what I've seen so far this year. So, with that being said, obviously that means I've got Okanagan, I've got Royal, I've got Anacortes. The only time this time I'm going to take this off now because I have O'Day over Bellevue. Now I have Lake Stevens. I might have picked O'Day the preseason, but I don't think I did. I'll have to go back. I got the notes somewhere here. But anyway, the hair's getting long again. It was down to my shoulders when I cut it last time, so I'm not sure if I'm going to let it grow. But
I was going to say it's starting to curl up and tickle my neck, so it's definitely time to go. I'm sure that Mrs. Evans is listening, and she's going to text me in like 10 seconds and go, "You're darn right. It's time for you to get a haircut."
Camus has offered Doc Harris to Seton Catholic to use through the quarters, no bathrooms or concessions on the roadside. I don't know if I like that.
We just need everybody to come play their games at Lamson. That's what it's got to be. Everybody just load up the bus, come play at Lamson. It's just clearly that's what everybody wants to do. So
I think everybody wants to just go to Husky Stadium. That seems
yes,
like
they do. Yes, they do.
I like that.
I like that too.
You know whose name you won't find in the bracket challenges so far?
Matt King.
Matt King. Exactly. Matt freaking King. Come on, man. You can't take 10 minutes away from setting up state volleyball action, which, by the way, shame on the committees for putting Columbia River and Ridgefield on the same side of the bracket. That way they can't play for the championship for like the 5th straight year.
Doesn't matter. Ellensburg's going to win that championship anyway.
You think so? Oh, man. Hot take. Hot take. Hot take.
Hot take.
Bro, Columbia River's won the last 17 championships.
Yeah.
At least the last 3.
Yeah.
I'd have to double check.
All good things must come to an end.
Right. I was on the call for Ellensburg against Linden for the girls' championship last year. I haven't gotten a Christmas card from the Ellensburg side. So maybe the N2 jinx was alive and well. Because every time that I'm on the call for a Linden game, they always win. Shocker. I know. Boys or girls.
Well, Ellensburg's just, they're very, very good this year. They are. I mean,
they have a lot of Mars.
They do.
Right?
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
She's
fantastic. Like 6'8". Yeah.
Okay, her brother.
She's a big middle blocker.
She's 6'4". Her brother was 6'8". But it should be fun.
I heard she grew 4 inches.
If she plays in 4-inch platforms, then yeah, she'll be 6'8". But,
there we go.
Yeah, it's
the Ellsberg's like super athletic. Yeah. They've got phenomenal female sports over there for volleyball and for basketball, of course.
So. And girls soccer as well. Some of their basketball players play girls soccer, and they're no slouch when it comes to the soccer pitch as well.
I haven't heard yet, but I heard that. Well, I haven't confirmed it, but I heard at the end of last season that the coach for girls basketball, Tim Rivay, I heard that he might be not coming back and coaching. Is he still back there, or do you know if he ended up stepping down?
I have not heard that. Let me see. Let me see if I can find something real quick.
Okay. Well, I got to get prepared. Basketball's about ready to start, and I got to work on my rankings because I got to compete with someone's computer algorithm here.
Well, don't worry. You'll get a head start. My first basketball rankings won't be out till Christmas.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I will say though, there's one game that I'm really looking forward to that I have circled on my calendar. Girls basketball.
It's the Annie Wright game, right? Oh, girls basketball.
It's not the Annie Wright game. This is a local girls basketball game over here that I got wind of this one a couple months ago, and I was like, I will be there. It is, let me pull it up real quick. It is Tuesday night, December 10th, from the Riverhawks Nest in Pasco. The Prosser Mustangs playing Chiawana. I am so looking forward to that game. That is going to be such a good one.
Yeah, Prosser's super solid.
Prosser's returning. I mean, Chiawana, I believe, graduated one kid from last year. They've got Malia Rude down in the post, 6'4", I believe. They've got oh my gosh, they've got another girl who's over. They've got two other girls that are 6 foot. And then Prosser comes over, and I think if I remember correctly, looking at Prosser's roster from last year, they didn't graduate too many as well either, and they've got a couple of big posts as well. It's just, I love what Prosser's been doing with their scheduling on all of their sports non-league. Shout out to their AD. He's one of my good friends over here on the east side. And oh man, let's just get it going. God, basketball. I mean, so many good things happening. And
November, Matt.
Columbia Burbank Colfax boys over here in December. Like, come on. Shut up and take my money. Let's go. I'm kind of bummed. I'm kind of bummed that Colfax's big post transferred to Central Valley. I was hoping to get to see her play this year, but some really good ones down here. It's gonna be fun. Basketball season's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, how about the year Colfax boys had last year?
Yeah, it's gonna be good. And Columbia
Burbank had a great team. Yeah. Napavine had a great team.
Brewster's returning some good kids. They've got Napavine in non-league as well. I think Brewster's coming down to the Sundome. Burbank's going up to the Sundome as well. It just, oh man, that's the other one too. If you want to go watch a very, very good, well-run tournament, go up to the Sundome shootout there at the end of December with all those teams. Zilla runs it. Their head coach organizes the whole thing and does an amazing job. I think Davis boys are playing down there this year. You're just going to get lots of really good basketball there over 2 days. Linden's coming down again. North Kitsap's coming down. I think
isn't Annie Wright Linden one of those games?
Annie Wright Linden is one of those games. You get Grandview up there. It's going to be fantastic.
Nice.
Let's freaking go.
Yeah, I did get an email today about a tournament that might need some coverage. So potentially cover a tournament. It won't be the Yakima shootout. I'll save the spoilers. Although that would be awesome. But I'm sure that if Jeff at West Valley Yakima wanted to set it up there, I'm sure they can do that. That's what they set up all the tournaments for Eli Sports Network and NFHS for the Yakima stuff. So Jeff Weeks.
Ram Vision.
All right.
They do good stuff.
Basketball's around the corner, but man, we got lots more football action. We still got 4 more weeks to go. Matt and I have taken you through every bracket from 1B up to 4A. And like we promised you last week, there are over 3.5 upsets in the 4A bracket. I don't know if we're going to see that many this week, but I'd probably put the over-under at maybe 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But, beyond that, it'd be kind of a shock. So,
yeah, I agree. 100%.
Well, anything to add, Matt, before we call it a night and tuck ourselves into bed here a little bit?
Supposed to be weather could be difficult coming over the pass. If you're traveling either way, make sure to give yourself extra time. Make sure that you are being safe on the road. Get to game safely. Enjoy the game safely. Get home safely. Come back and enjoy it next week. If you see, media or ADs on the sidelines, make sure you give them a big shout out for all the stuff that they do. We love to see it. We love to hear it. We wouldn't be here without the ADs. Appreciate them, everything they do. Appreciate the players and the coaches. Hope everyone just goes out, does good, and let's keep everything safe.
Good job, Matt. Very true. I'm excited. Saturday is going to be a huge day. A lot of high school games on Saturday, not quite as many on Friday night this week. So clear your Saturday schedules. You're going to have to probably put aside that Bed Bath & Beyond trip, Home Depot. I don't know if there's going to be enough time. Sunday might be a day. So it's going to be an awesome time this week. I can't wait to get at it. I believe I'm probably just going to relax. I don't think that I'm going to I don't think I'm going to be streaming anything this weekend, and it'll be a nice Friday night with the family. I'll probably NFHS a couple of games and see what's around. But, yeah, it'll be nice just to kind of take a collective deep breath. And I'll be following all the games updates on Twitter as well. So appreciate everybody who does all the hard work in the media to cover these games and to get us basically play-by-play on social media. So it's been an awesome show. Appreciate everybody coming on in and watching, and also typing in all your stuff in the live stream comment section. You guys did phenomenal tonight and gave us a laugh. Go Buccaneers, of course. And can't wait to see what the Bucks put together this week. It'll be a big week, I think, for the Bucks.
Kingston forever.
Kingston for life. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight's show. I am Nick Sisson of N2 Media. That is Matt Evans of Evans Rankings. Again, please fill out your tournament brackets. We need them submitted by when, Matt?
The brackets go live Friday at 3 promptly.
Okay. So Matt King, get your bracket submitted. Everybody else, get your brackets submitted. Let's see who's going to take home the bragging rights and maybe a fancy VR hat.
Make sure too that you don't put in your score for the title or for the title of your thing. Put in your name, because I swear that I think if I find another the next one that's called 2414, I'm gonna throw something across the room. So thank you for my sanity.
All right. Well, again, Nick, Matt, we are your hosts for the show. Pick Six. We'll be back next week to talk about how right we were about our predictions in round one. Hopefully. Thank you, guys.